Okay, so hi guys, and welcome to class today. So I wanted to just go and give you a quick review, a quick recap of the grammar that we have been learning. So we have been doing the present perfect. So we know that when we speak and we're speaking in this moment now, it's called the present. So any grammar that you hear that says present, it could say present simple, present perfect. That means that we are able to speak in this moment. We're able to create a sentence and give people information about what is happening in our life presently, right now. Because that's what present means. It means right now. You know, what is happening in your life now? What action are you doing? So we looked at the present simple some lessons ago, and now the present perfect. So we want to know the present perfect. How do we create this sentence? When do we use it? Why? Let's have a look at some of the grammar. So just some quick revision, quick review. The present simple, the present perfect, the present perfect. So it's now. You can see we're talking about a moment in time, which is now. Okay, I'm just giving you a review of what we've done so far. So it's an action that started in the past and is still continuing or just recently finished. So if this is now, you could see the action happened in the past. So it could be you studied, you worked, you went to the beach, maybe you were playing a game, you saw someone, whatever action, it happened in the past, maybe yesterday, last night, last week. But it's not a completed, finished action. It's still continuing. So you can see how I've made it here that it's still continuing. Because if the action finished here, this would be called the past simple, finished, completed action. Like last week, I went to the beach. Yesterday, I saw my friend. But this is different. This is present perfect. The action happened in the past, but is still continuing. Okay, maybe it just recently finished, or it's still continuing, and it will continue into the future. Okay, so the past simple, the one where I made the sentence here, like yesterday I saw my friend, that's an action in a distant past, in the far past, and it's been finished, completed. I'm not doing the action anymore. But this one is like this. It's still continuing to this moment. Okay, so before I give you some examples, how do we create this sentence? Well, you have a subject. Okay, you have a subject, and then you have to use the verb to have. So it could be I have, you have, we have, they have, or if it's he, she, it, then it's has. Now the action, we need to put an ed to the action. But be careful because there are some verbs that are irregular. So if you were to use go, you would say not went, but you would say gone. So I have gone. Or if it's to see, be careful. You wouldn't say saw because that's the past simple. You would say I have seen. Okay, so we see this is called the perfect and it's right here. That's how we create the sentence. So some examples of the present perfect is saying something like this. I have learnt a new language. Okay, so it means I started learning a language sometime maybe last night or maybe last week, but I'm still learning a language. I haven't completed learning a language. So I'm still doing this action. So I have learnt a new language. I have seen that film. I have spoken to someone. I have sent an email. Okay, so it's not yet finished, but I have sent an email. It could be we have decided to travel We have stayed at that place before. Okay, sentences like that. But as I said, be careful. There are some irregular verbs that break the rule. So for example, you don't say go, but you would say been. I have been to Paris before. Okay, it means sometime in the past I went there, but maybe I might go again. So it's not a completed, finished action. I have been to Argentina. Or to forget, you would say forgotten. I have forgotten that person's name. I have forgotten where my keys are, where I placed my keys. Or to do, we would say done. I have done my homework. Okay, but it's not completed. I might still have to do it. So I have done my homework and maybe I still have to do something. Now, if you want to make a negative sentence, you add not. So you would add the not here. I have not seen that film. I have not been to that country before. I have not been to Colombia. I have not spoken to Maria. Okay, so we add the not. So we have the subject. It depends if you want to say have or has. Remember, has is only for he, she, it. And then we say not, and then the action. So we add the word not here. Now you can also ask questions. So how do you ask the question? You start with the verb. So have, remember, is for I, you, we, they. So I can ask, have you been to Paris? That means sometime in your past, did you go to Paris? Have you been there? Have you seen that film? Have you spoken to Maria? Have you decided on a location for your holiday? Have you prepared your dinner? Have you made a decision? Okay, so it's a question like that. Now, has is for he, she, it. If I'm talking about another girl or another person that's a male, I would say, has she? Has she been to Paris? Has he spoken to his boss? Has he emailed his teacher? Now, when we talk about our life experiences, so something that's happened in your life, you can say ever. So for example, have you ever been to Colombia? So it must be like an experience, something that you've done. Have you ever in your whole life done this experience? Have you ever traveled by yourself? Have you ever jumped off a jetty? Have you ever swam in the ocean? Have you ever stayed out late? Have you ever gone to a club? Something like that. Have you ever had alcohol? So I'm asking about an experience in your life. If you have experienced it, have you done it? Have you ever done it? So we need to push this word as well, ever. Have you ever done that? Now, as I said, ever means like in your whole life. Have you done this? Now, to answer, if it's a negative, you would say, no, I've never been to Paris. No, I've never seen that movie. No, I've never spoken to him before. Okay, so in our response, if it's a negative response, we need to say never. Have you ever learnt a new language? If it's yes, you would just say, yes, I have. Okay, it's very simple. The response when you say yes, yes, I have, yes, we have, yes, they have, yes, she has, yes, he has. But it's only in the negative response you say never. So the question, you say ever. Have you ever done this experience? If it's a negative, no, I've never. And you can just stop there. You don't have to repeat the action. If you want, you can say, no, I've never, or no, I've never been to Paris. Okay, so we really wanted to make sure that we know the present perfect and how is it different to the past simple? Well, as I said, the past simple is a finished, completed action. Like last week I went to the beach. I'm not doing it now. Last year I studied Italian. I'm not doing it now. Last weekend I saw Maria. I'm not doing it now. So the past simple is a finished, completed action. It stops here in the past. But the present perfect, as I said, it started in the past, but it's still continuing to this moment in my life now. Okay, so that's how we use it. And we can also, I mean, there's a lot of questions we can see with, these are just some examples. Have you ever traveled around Australia? Have you ever studied Japanese? Have you ever drunk beer? Have you ever worked in another country? Have you ever met a famous person? Have you ever failed a test? Have you ever eaten kangaroo meat? Have you ever bought a car? Have you ever written a book? Have you ever traveled to another Latin American country? Have you ever driven in South Australia? Have you ever gone to Europe? Have you ever forgotten something on the bus? Have you ever swam in the sea? Have you ever worked really late? Have you ever been in a really bad car accident? Have you ever tried empanadas? Have you ever been to South Korea? Have you ever been to maybe there's a name of a stadium? Have you ever visited Paris? Okay, so you can see that I'm asking about your life experience. And just remember, be careful with the verb. It could be an irregular, or it could be a regular with the ed. So you can see there's a lot of irregulars: been, swam, gone, forgotten, driven, written, eaten. Okay, so a lot of irregular, but you can see the regular ones with the ed: failed, traveled, worked, studied. Okay, so that's what we have looked at so far, the present perfect. Any questions with the present perfect? With what you guys did in the lesson yesterday, present perfect, and how it's different to the past simple. Okay, so present perfect, the action started in the past, but it's still continuing into my life now. It's not a completed action. Okay, so very simple. Present perfect is probably the hardest one to learn. And I think it's, I mean, I'll show you the difference. If you hear a sentence like, the present simple can be like, I work, I teach English. Okay, that's a present simple. It's some information about what is happening in my life. I teach English. But if I said, I have taught English for 10 years, That's a present perfect sentence. So the next level that I want to teach you is that we also use the present perfect when we want to talk about how long the action has been happening for. So it started in the past because I said I have taught English for 10 years. So you can see I used the word for to tell you how long I've been doing this action, and I'm still doing it. Okay, it's not a completed action. I'm teaching English. So I have taught English for 10 years. That's a present perfect sentence. We'll do some questions. You can ask someone with that same action, how long have you taught English for? So if you know that a person is doing an action, but you want to know how long, you can say, how long have you taught English for? So it's a present perfect question. And because we're talking about time, we use the word at the beginning, how long. So it means that I want to know for how long have you done this action? So the present perfect allows us to say how long I've done that action for. So it's a very different sentence to I teach English, because that just gives you a subject, I, verb, teach, English, present simple. But the present perfect tells me how long I have done that action. I have taught English for 10 years. Okay, another sentence could be like, I work in the city. Present simple. True information, which is happening in my life now. I work in the city, but in the present perfect, I could say, I have worked in the city for 3 years. Okay, so same action, but we're just going a little bit extra from the present simple and giving more information because we want to say how long we have done that action for. Okay, so that's what you've done so far, the present perfect. Don't worry, it's not an easy grammar to understand. And as I said, the only thing you need to know is when you have he, she, or it, because it becomes has. So you say, has she spoken to Mario before? Has he done this, worked here before? But other than that, it's really simple. It's talking about an action which is still continuing, or you could even say for how long you're still doing that action.